You go on, one lunch date with a girl you don't even hold hands with, and you're like, I love her. I love her.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi.
And
Hey.
for Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hiya.
Say hello to your mother for me.
Yeah. Tell Sloan what up. There were a couple of things I wanted to talk about before we get into more stage adaptations and everything.
Sweet.
First off, we have all this extra content that comes out with mini pods and interviews and stuff, and you guys might see interviews that come up every once in a while, and you're like, I don't know if I'm really interested in that movie. I don't know if I'm interested in that person talking or whatever. But man, I tell you what. I'm gonna make this a sort of a recommendation of our own shit. That's how.
Look at my shit.
Yeah, look at my shit. Because even though you might not be like 100% on a movie, you know what I mean? I don't think I've even heard of that movie or whatever. Listen to some of these interviews, man. These people have some stories.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of like great insight into how movies have been made and everything. We recently got done with Eric Bress, who did The Ghosts of War. He's also the director of The Butterfly Effect, and we got to talk about The Butterfly Effect a little bit with him, and that was fun. He was a very engaging guest. He's one of the most like fun guests that I've ever talked to in an interview. We talked to Stacey Martin, who's in Archive, but of course she's also in Nymphomaniac, and she's in All the Money in the World, and she's on all these movies, and we got to talk to her about a lot of those movies too, and like just fun stuff and everything. What was it, the one that we did, Adrian McMorrin and Magda Apanovich. They're in the movie Volition, and oh my God, they were so great, and Magda's hilarious. And I was just like, what did we do to get this kind of like these kind of guests? You know, it's like amazing.
Yes,
listening to these people talk is fun. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys didn't, if you were like looking at the interview and you're like, I'm not really interested in whatever movie that they're out there to promote, go listen to some of these interviews. These guys have a lot more stories about that stuff, and maybe you'll get interested in the movie itself too. But that's like, that's like only part of it to me.
I'm telling you, man, not only are, some are directors, some of them are actors. We had the good fortune to speak with Channing Godfrey Peoples, who helped bring this whole Juneteenth thing into the populace, which has gotten rave reviews, by the way, and brought some insight that Chris and I would not have had, I don't think.
Yeah.
We talked to Naisa Hardiman, who is this wonderful Irish academic who turned filmmaker. And so we were talking about film theory and like all these things. This will just blow your mind. So I absolutely agree with Chris that we should be pimping our own shit.
Yeah. And, I'm not saying that because I need these things to get downloaded more and listened more to. I don't have any inherent need for them to.
No, it's the people.
I just want you guys to hear what they have to say, because the getting a peek behind how these movies are made and everything is just fascinating to me. And hearing the stories that they have to tell about it and everything. So I just wanted to give that as sort of a an off book recommend for everybody. The other thing that I wanted to get into is, because of COVID, I've had a hard time, going out very often. Like I was telling everybody the other day, the first time I got gas since March, I did that 2 days ago. 2 days ago. That's how few how little I've ever gone out in the past 5 or 6 months. And I could have made it to August if I wanted to, but I decided to let's make sure we have a full tank just in case the zombies show up.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the next thing.
Yeah. So there have been a couple of postcards that have come in, and they're both from Dominic, who has sent postcards before. And I just wanted to read a couple of these. One's from February. That's from the Before Times. It says, "Hey guys, I am very much enjoying this new bracket. Of course, we were doing the best of the decade bracket back then, and hope one day you will do a horror bracket. With that said, I wanted to send you this Blu-ray because Jeremy, and hopefully the rest of you, need to experience the original Sleepaway Camp." And I do have Sleepaway Camp in the collection at this point. Sleepaway Camp is there. I need to watch it. It does Friday the 13th 1,000 times better than that movie by having a better shot film, actual teens, and a more off-the-rails story with a spectacular ending. Don't read the box. Yeah, don't read the box. You have to see it blind. If anything, it's a new film for Chris's collection, and of course, yes, it is there in the collection at this point.
I have also seen the second one now. So I've seen the second and the third one, but I've never seen the first one.
The first. Okay. All right. Hopefully this won't be like a horrible bosses for you.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, neither the second or third impressed me much, even though I'm told they have like cult followings and that there are people that love them. Yeah. They're just poorly acted, in my opinion. But there's some other things about them I could see why people dig them. But the first one is supposed to be a classic, and I would like to see it someday.
Yeah, I'll have to make sure that gets distributed. And then he wrote another one in May. That was the During Times. Chris, I officially got off of Facebook because it was really bumming me out. No shit. It's no surprise that people are mean, but it was just draining. What you guys do can be perceived as mean by some, but it's always in a certain spirit. Anyways, I just wanted to still stay in touch and comment the old-fashioned way and continue to support the Sin team. So
very cool.
I wanted again to thank Dominic for sending those in.
Yeah.
It means a lot to us. And, if you want to send something to us to our P.O. Box, we are at Cinemasins, P.O. Box 92466. Nashville, Tennessee 37209. If you ever wanted to send something the old route.
Did I hear a niner in there?
You did hear a niner.
Speaking of which, some members of our team will be getting something in the mail very, very soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Some are weirder than others.
That's correct. Mine's not weird. Barrett's and Jeremy's are weird. So you guys will love those better than mine. Mine's just trying to say thank you 100 times, and theirs is it's a surprise. So we're gonna continue to do our stage to screen adaptations. We left off at the H's last time, and we're going to go right into Hamlet.
Hamlet.
So, yeah, there's a Zeffirelli version that Mel Gibson was in that Alicia Silverstone references in Clueless. And,
I was wondering where you were going.
Probably the most famous. That's what most known from, right?
It may be at this point. And then there is the Kenneth Branagh Hamlet. That's the one I'm more familiar with. It came out as a 70 millimeter print back in 1996. Of course, no theater in Nashville could play it properly, but that one is an extremely lush and probably overdone version of Hamlet, but I love it.
It's also just on the long side, just a hair, right? Runs like
it's 4 hours.
Just a little
4 hours long. Yes,
I remember it being like decadent, right? Like I remember feeling like, it's gorgeous. I only saw it one time. I saw it at an age where I don't think I could appreciate Shakespeare fully anyway. But I do remember it being gorgeous. And I've seen more interpretations of Hamlet that seem more like realistic depictions of the wealth and castles and all that stuff. Like, I'm not sure it would be that lush in reality is what I'm really saying. Like
Right.
he took a
What did
very
you think of the-
romanticized view. Of that.
Yeah. What did you think of the Mel Gibson version?
I only saw it once. I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, really? See, that's the one that I'm much more familiar with. And Gibson being Gibson aside, I love it. I absolutely love this performance. I love the color palette. I love his performance. I love Helena Bonham Carter as Ophelia. The late, great Ian Holm was Polonius in that one. And it's just, I think it's perfectly paced, too. It's only 134 minutes. So I don't know, man. I love the soliloquies that Gibson delivers in this one. He's a jerk off, but he's also a very good actor. So I enjoyed watching it. I agree with you about the Branagh version. It's lush and opulent, has a great cast, but it's a little detached. Maybe it's the length.
Maybe it's just, I think it represents visually how much Branagh loves Hamlet. Like, I think it's an expression of his love for that work. I've probably seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead 5 times more than I've seen any Hamlet adaptation.
Me too.
And I recently saw that Ophelia movie, which was basically the same thing as Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, only it's Hamlet from Ophelia's perspective. Mm-hmm. I guess if I had to choose between the two major ones, I would choose the Branagh version, but I can't imagine when I would ever sit down to watch that again. Not to say that I wouldn't enjoy it, but 4 hours is a slog.
Oh, I love watching it. I love watching it. It's just
you can't take your eyes from that Hamlet. And well, I mean, it is another. It's a movie you could, in theory, just have on in the background. It's kind of like that. If you know the story of Hamlet pretty well at this point, so you don't have to sit there and really, really get into it. But I love that version. There's also the one that won Best Picture that Laurence Olivier was in 1948. If I recall, that was the one where it was, I think they actually shot that like it was just on stage the whole time.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right.
Olivier, just like Branagh would later, did like all the Shakespeare adaptations back in the day. And I believe that's the one where he's on the stage, where it's a filmed stage thing. It's not like what Hamilton does, where it's got all these different angles and everything. It's pretty much one static shot with them changing backgrounds every once in a while. So that one's also a good version. I rather would see a cinematic version, though, to be honest. I know a lot of people like that, it's kind of cool. They're on the stage. It's the way the people would have seen it back in the day. Or like, well, this is a movie. I want to see a movie.
What did you think of the Ethan Hawke version? I'm calling it his version, even though he wasn't the director.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I remember liking it. It was a modern version, right, where they updated the story, but this time there's people using guns and all sorts of stuff. Kind of like, I mean, the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet did that too, where they updated it, but it still felt like it was still in the past, even though they had guns and everything. It's kind of a weird, I don't know, but the Ethan Hawke Hamlet is an updated thing. I remember it being okay. Yeah,
me too. I think they kept the language as is, but the setting was modernized.
Oh, okay. So they still did the full on Shakespeare.
I believe so. I'll have to check on that.
Okay, I thought they had updated the dialogue. I know that was it Much Ado About Nothing, the Joss Whedon. That
they kept that the language, and then Romeo plus Juliet had the fucking.
There's something
classic.
that they updated the dialogue. Then I can't remember what that was.
I haven't seen the Macbeth that Fassbender did fairly recently. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that.
Okay. I want to.
Yeah. Then we have Harvey. Are we talking about Harvey the Rabbit?
Harvey the Rabbit.
I have never seen this, believe it or not.
Ooh, it's so good.
Yes, it is.
This is, I think, Jimmy Stewart at his Jimmy Stewartest. Like, even more than It's a Wonderful Life. And I didn't know until this fucking podcast, because I'm a troglodyte, that this was based on a play. I've always known this as a movie. And And he's a guy that has quote unquote imaginary friend that is an 8-foot tall rabbit named Harvey. And that's pretty much a given for him. And the movie is more about how everyone else responds once they find out. And it's classic. I think you would enjoy it, but everybody has classics that had slipped through the sands of time. But it's very good. Where did I just hear a Harvey the Rabbit? Oh, it's in Shawshank, where he's talking about the guy he conjured out of thin air, and he's like, second cousin of Harvey the Rabbit.
Yep.
But no, I haven't seen it in probably 20 years, but it's one of those my mom showed me at a pretty early age, and we watched regularly, and it's a gem.
I actually worked on this play in high school. I was...
Did Tom Hall put the moves on?
Yes, exactly. Sometimes I was on stage, but most of the time I was backstage doing stage work, set work, and stuff like that. People who didn't listen last week will be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
What was the Tom Hulse thing? What is that?
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, I agree on Harvey. Harvey is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Then we have a movie I recently saw, probably about maybe a year ago, Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Ooh, this movie fucking rules too.
John Cameron Mitchell.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of like awesome rock songs in it, man. It's really cool.
I'm glad you finally saw it.
Yeah, man. I saw it. I can't remember how long ago it's been, but it's been now long enough that I can't remember the entire story. I know it's a band, and they have their inner struggles and everything as they go around to clubs and stuff. And play music, and his angry inch. He's talking about his penis.
Yep. No, seriously, yeah. I mean, it's the one thing that's keeping him from fully transitioning, and part of it involves. Let me get my pronoun correct here. It's she. I'm going to go with she. It's the only thing that's keeping her from transitioning, and part of the issue is that she became very close with a guy. Who she was acting kind of as a mentor to, and he ended up stealing her music. And so she's getting pretty pissed and goes after him and all that stuff. But it's awesome.
Yeah, I remember it being really good from what I saw. But it has been now long enough that I didn't retain everything that I saw. But good movie. Would recommend it. An Ideal Husband. I never saw this. This was Rupert Everett, I believe, was in this. Yeah. Is this based on Oscar Wilde?
Yes.
Yeah.
I never saw this one.
Ideal Husband. Yes, it was Rupert Everett. They had one that came out in 1999, and then an adaptation that came out in 2000. So this is very weird, but it's based on an Oscar Wilde play.
Yeah,
and it had Rupert Everett and. It's funny. Rupert Everett is not related to the whole Dylan McDermott and Dermot Mulroney thing, but he does look like them, right?
He does. He's been in movies they've been in. Like he was in the
My Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah, that's the movie that I was trying to think of. He's in that. So he definitely can blend in with those guys.
He's got a good humor. I was reading an article about Dermot Mulroney. And he's got a very comic attitude about the whole comparison and all that. And he's had quite a career. I mean, like you were saying when we were talking about living in oblivion, like he's done some shit. He's not just a Dermot McDermott.
Yeah. I recently watched Living in Oblivion again. I watched it like a few days ago. I love that movie so much. I went back and let the commentary roll, listen to Tom DeSello's commentary on it and everything.
Nice.
But yeah, Rupert Everett, if I recall, he was one of the first actors to come out as gay. Like one of the first, like in the 90s at least.
Yeah.
And it did sort of derail his career a little bit. Just a little bit at that time because people still weren't quite ready, but I'm sure there are people who look to Rupert Everett as sort of a hero type back in the 90s, because he just came right out and said, yeah, what's the big deal?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
what's
but
the big
I have
fucking
never
deal, bitch?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I haven't seen An Ideal Husband. I need to see it. Then we have, this is a movie. Oh my God, this is really good shit. Denis Villeneuve's Incendies, which I'm probably mispronouncing in some way. It might be Incendious, or something like that. But yeah, it's about this brother and sister twins who have to go and research their family history and everything. And it's one of those movies that has a lot of surprises, and there's a lot of things where you don't think they're going to be able to find certain things out, and they keep finding these little loose threads and everything. And this movie's really good. I haven't seen it since whenever we were going through the Denis Villeneuve stuff. Whenever Arrival came out, I believe, is when I saw this, because I went through all of his whole filmography at the time. Enemy and all of those. But
Prisoners.
Prisoners. If I remember correctly, though, I would put this in his top 2 or 3.
Really? Really?
Yeah, watch this.
It's that good.
All right.
It's
All
that
right.
good.
It's weird because this was 2010. I thought that was probably his first feature, but he had, I don't know if these were over at France, but he had done 3 before that, starting in 98.
I think he's from Canada. He's French-Canadian.
Oh, okay.
Those tricky French Canadians. You speak French. You never think Canadians.
Right.
It's only that one province.
Right. I tried to watch some of the stuff before that, but I couldn't find them. Like, I think it was Polytechnique.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the others, but
Maelstrom and August 32nd.
I've seen everything from Incendies or Incendies or whatever, however you pronounce this. But if I recall correctly, I remember at the end of this movie just going, "Yep, that's a great fucking movie."
All right, that's next on the list then.
And you guys need to watch it for sure. I did not know this was a stage play at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm equally as troglodytish as Jeremy is.
I'm not going to try to pronounce the playwright. It's Wajdi. It's the first name.
Yeah.
I don't know how to touch that.
No idea, but it's a great movie. I need to rewatch it because I remember it being that good. Then we have Moulin Rouge.
Okay. Moulin Rouge. This is a serpentine way of getting to the source material. I saw this play called Lady of the Camellias. Okay. It was written by Alexander Dumas. That has like 15 different adaptations. Okay. Including La Traviata, the opera.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I talk about feeling like a troglodyte. I was like, how the fuck do I not know what this is? As I'm reading the description, first of all, I've seen La Traviata. And I was like, hey, that sounds familiar. But then also, it's about a courtesan who wears a white flower when she's able to make the love, and then a red flower when she's doing the menstruating. So she's unavailable. But she's a courtesan, and she falls in love, and the guy, it's Moulin Rouge, right? So I didn't see it on the front facing thing. So I did some digging, and it is indeed the inspiration for Moulin Rouge. Madame aux Camellias.
That
so it could have been, you don't have to put on the red flower, Roxanne? No, white flower. White flower.
It also based upon tons of popular songs that proliferated in the past 40 years or so. Got into this movie. I think this is one of those weird Academy things. There are a couple of original songs in there, like "Come What May" is original, but he originally wanted to put that in Romeo and Juliet, and apparently it was written for that. And because even though that it was never in that movie, could not be considered for the Oscars in 2001.
Oh, Baz.
So I take it, Barrett, you dislike this movie.
I very much dislike this movie. I don't even know why I dislike this movie. I think it's too hyperkinetic for me. Is the dumb answer. Mm-hmm. There's also some sort of artifice on this that I can't put my finger on. I don't really believe. I do love Ewan McGregor's performance. As a matter of fact, his vocal performance is surprisingly good. I didn't buy the chemistry between he and Satine. I don't know if that's Nicole Kidman's fault. I don't know if it's the director's fault.
It's nobody's fault. It's if these two people don't seem like they should be together at all on screen, then you're never going to buy it.
Yeah.
So.
But this is one of those times where I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I think I'm the only person that genuinely dislikes this movie. I think everybody else either finds it pleasant or really, really digs it. I do like the Lady Marmalade song, even though little Kim just kind of grunts her way through it. And I don't know why Missy Misdemeanor is there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
She's the producer. Duh. I don't think
she is a producer.
No, it's probably not. What I wanted to add is this. John Leguizamo is creepy.
Okay. Yeah.
Like in real life or just in this movie? I don't just
mean in this movie. No, I'm just kidding. In this movie, I genuinely like John Leguizamo, but in this movie, I find him like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, he kind of is. Yeah,
Toulouse.
Yeah, but Zoe, hey, this does not go to the themes of love and blah blah blah. La Boheme. I love this movie, but I totally see what Barrett is saying about it because I think that if I had seen Moulin Rouge in 2010, I would have been completely different about the way this was presented and everything because it's hyper edited, it's over the top, that Baz Luhrmann style that he puts into all those things. It especially at the beginning, man, it's just too much sometimes. But I love the love story, even though maybe Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman aren't the best matches and everything. But I love that love story, and I love the whole them sneaking around and putting the parallels into their own musical from real life and everything. I really dug it, and at the end when they sing, "Come What May" and all that, I'm there for it, man. One of my favorite trailers of all time, too. By the way. There are two trailers for Moulin Rouge, but the one that's got the music that's like that song, whatever that is, that's the trailer. I love that trailer so much.
I did want to go over to the Moulin Rouge when I was in Paris, but we didn't get a chance to go over there. But man, they advertised the fuck out of that place.
Yeah, they do.
Well, I bet since the movie, it's like a tourist attraction.
Yep.
Yeah, man, and I don't think Nicole Kidman gets fucked one time. I should probably say that less crude.
So true.
I don't think Nicole Kidman for a courtesan. She's a hua. She should be getting.
She doesn't sleep with the colonel or whatever his fucking name is.
They don't show it.
Mustache. Okay, so
the mustache. The dude.
I think she doesn't. Well, she does keep finding ways to put it off. And so like. There's even a point where there's the last ditch effort so that she never sleeps with him. There's a point where Broadbent comes out and he's like, "She's confessing," and and she's like, she wants to be pure for your wedding night. She wants to be like a virgin, and of course they get into like a virgin after that. Which is not the strongest moment of the movie.
I think that maybe putting my finger on it is why there's a level of artifice is that I don't believe that she's a hua.
Okay. I get that. And she's a fellow Nashville native. I'll have you know.
She is indeed.
That's right. We don't talk about Nashville natives that way, except Marsha Blackburn. Much Ado About Nothing. I have seen both the Kenneth Branagh version of this and the Joss Whedon. I love that first Much Ado About Nothing, that Kenneth Branagh version, except for Keanu Reeves.
What did you think of the Joss Whedon version?
Oh, that was delightful. I love Amy Acker. She's not in nearly enough stuff, but that first one's got Emma Thompson. It's got Denzel Washington in it. It's
Kenny B.
Yeah. But I remember that one being really good. Both of them I haven't seen in forever though. I saw Much Ado About Nothing at the Belcourt when it came out. I believe it was in 1993. And the Joss Whedon I saw when it was about around the time it came out too. But it's one of Shakespeare's funnier plays. It's
so good.
Well, it's also the basis for Seinfeld.
Yes, exactly.
It's very much so. And talk about the opposite of Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh, of course, they got together in real life. Mm-hmm. They have palpable chemistry.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely in love with Emma Thompson at this point. Like,
yeah, man.
Had this golden skin and it was just the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I love me some Emma Thompson, especially
I love
in that
me
era.
some golden skin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And golden showers.
That's right. I've got a golden ticket.
This is the dirtiest episode in a while.
It is.
And Michael Keaton's in there. He's the traveling guy, right? He's like the traveling entertainer.
Traveling secretary, assistant to the traveling secretary.
he's the constable. But yeah, he's in the. Denzel is so good. Kate Beckinsale. Denzel. Did you say that Denzel was not as good in this as I thought, Jeremy?
I only saw it once. He was not the thing that stood out to me, but this is also about 10 years before I decided he was the greatest actor living. So I need to revisit it.
Oh, and Robert Sean Leonard of House fame and Dead Poet Society fame.
Yeah.
And Dead Poet Society, he does another Shakespeare play.
He does. It's been Summer Night's Dream.
Yep. I want to watch this movie again right now.
He gets to play Puck. He got to play Puck.
To play Puck.
All right, everybody, it is time to talk about BetterHelp.
Yeah. I tell you what, man, I can't think of a better business to exist during this time than BetterHelp. I mean, everybody's going to telehealth. I'm getting, from every one of my doctors, I'm getting emails and texts and stuff like that saying, we need to do this as a telehealth experiment or appointment instead of, in person. And BetterHelp has already been miles ahead of them when it comes to online counseling. So much so that they're recruiting new counselors right now. Over 1 million people have joined. I know my therapist is really at capacity. I was very, very lucky to get in when I did. And man, I need this stuff. I need this stuff now.
Yeah.
Now. I may not have needed it 5 years ago, but I need this stuff now, and it is helping. And I can imagine it's helping millions of people right now.
Yeah, and I get at least 2 messages every week or so on one or another platforms of people saying, hey, I finally signed up for BetterHelp. It went great. And, therapy is scary for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. But a lot of what's scary is going to a foreign environment that you don't feel safe in. Therapy is about opening up and sharing some of your deepest feelings and fears. And, it would be easier to do that from the comfort of your own couch than from, a sterile feeling, office. So that's a barrier for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Another barrier for a lot of people is just straight up distance. The nearest therapist near me, if you're a rural person, your nearest therapist may be 3-hour drive away, and that's just not practical for a lot of people. So BetterHelp, it fills a lot of needs to get people into counseling, and in this time during this pandemic.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's during this time. It could not be more perfect. It does jump all those hurdles that you were talking about, but also it has the benefit of not putting you in any danger at all. It's been really a lifesaver for a lot of people All you do is you log on, you answer a few questions, they match you to a counselor, and sometimes in your area, and you're off and running. Like within 24 hours, I heard back from my Ann. My Ann. And it's worked out great. If it doesn't work out great, you can change counselors. That's one of the benefits they have. So BetterHelp.com/SinCast gets you 10% off your first month, which is significant. If you have issues with money, let them know. Don't let that be an impediment. This is one of our favorite services. Sign up if you need to. BetterHelp.com/SinCast.
The next one on here is The Lion in Winter, which I believe I've seen, but man, do I not remember anything about it.
Oh, really? Lion in Winter is so
Peter O'Toole.
good. Yep.
Katharine Hepburn, Anthony Hopkins. Yeah. I don't remember anything about this.
I saw this on Mubi actually.
Oh yeah,
it's so good. Peter O'Toole, Anthony Hopkins is kind of menacing in this. Katharine Hepburn is fucking hilarious in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Timothy Dalton is in this. Peter O'Toole is playing King Henry the second.
Ken Henry was his brother.
It's basically set in a very specific location over Christmas. So you could see it being very play-like. But, man, it's awesome. I think it won Academy Awards. Yeah, Hepburn won for Best Actress.
Was this the one where Hepburn and Streisand they tied? Is that the one?
Yeah. This movie is awesome. I cannot recommend it enough.
I'll have to either watch for the first time or rewatch this for the first time in many, many years soon. Little Shop of Horrors. This movie came on the other night. I was watching parts of the beginning of it. This movie is just fun.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Moranis back in his heyday, and a lot of just like wonderful guest appearances in Little Shop of Horrors. They run this flower shop, and it's a flower shop that doesn't pull in any customers at all, really. But Rick Moranis goes to some place and goes to some like in the 80s. It was always people going to some like going to Chinatown or something.
Yes.
And they would always find this exotic thing, like, they'd find the mogwai, or they'd find, and in this case, he finds this plant, and he put the plant in the shop, and suddenly everybody wants to come into this flower shop because that plant is so amazing. and they realize they have to feed this plant constantly, or else it'll die, and they don't realize that it's a man-eating plant. It's
blood.
Oh yeah, but it's such a fun. I mean, it's so offbeat and everything. I've only seen the Frank Oz 1980s version of this. I have never seen the other one that came out before this, that I believe Jack Nicholson was in.
For a minute.
Is he the dentist or whatever?
No, he's the Bill Murray character. He's the guy who really wants a long, painful root canal. Like he's into that kind of thing.
He's into it.
But it's hilarious. We were talking about this on Slack. All of the marketing, like the front of the DVD, like it's all Jack Nicholson, and you can see a shot of the plant, but he's in it for literally like 12 seconds.
Actually, Arthur Denton is the guy getting the stuff from the dentist, is what you're saying. The Steve Martin in the 80s version is the dentist, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then who's the dentist in the 1960 version?
Dude, there's a lot, because it's the guy who directed a bunch of Roger Corman. It's a Roger Corman directing.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of names that I didn't recognize.
You would think there would be more though, coming from the Roger Corman house. Like a lot of the big actors got their first their start in those movies. On to Looking for Richard. I saw this way back in the day. It's a documentary. Yeah, it's a documentary / adaptation of Richard III. Like it's both is happening at the it's Al Pacino is trying to stage this, and you see him working with his actors, and all of the actors talk about like, well, this is how you're supposed to say this line, because like there's a point where I can't remember who it is, who's like whenever they're talking about like, I take this crown off of my head, you're supposed, he's like explaining, here's how you're supposed to say this, because what he's actually saying is when he says crown, he's actually talking about his head, and he's talking about removing his head and everything. But you see these actors and their processes as they're about to stage this Richard III. Of course, Al Pacino is playing Richard III in the adaptation. Yeah, you'll miss my blind dancing, and you'll miss my hoo-ah, and you'll miss... Do you ever see The Critic?
This is a fascinating movie. There's a ton of people in this. They interview Vanessa Redgrave, Kenneth Branagh, Derek Jacobi, James Earl Jones, and Kevin Kline. But the people in the cast are like Kevin Spacey and Winona Ryder and Alec Baldwin, Aidan Quinn, stuff like that. So it's terrific actors dissecting what it means to act this play, one of the most famous plays of all time. And it's Pacino really in his prime, along with, we'll take the baggage out of it, but Kevin Spacey in his prime, Alec Baldwin. I mean, this is just a very cool look at acting, the process of acting.
Yeah. But yeah, I would recommend watching this. I need to see this again, actually.
Yeah, it's cool.
Then there is Othello and also both of them are Othello adaptations. But I never saw the Branagh Othello that has Laurence Fishburne in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, boy.
Never saw it. Yeah?
Let me tell you this. This is the Kenneth Branagh Shakespeare adaptation that I love.
Yeah.
His performance as Iago is fucking electric.
Yeah.
And I've seen this 3 times. Fishburne's great. Everybody's great. But it's Branagh himself as an actor in this that I have never seen him this much on fire or into. There's something about that character that connects to his core.
Well, he gets to be evil. He never gets to be evil.
Yeah, that
and
may
now
be
he
it.
gets to be evil, so he's like, yeah, baby.
I remember watching. Okay, so we went. This is me and Josh in late college years, where we went. Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson were together, and Branagh was doing all these Shakespeare things. So we watched them all, and this was the one where we were like blown away the most. So because I know you love Hamlet so much and his other adaptations, I would put this on your list pretty high. I think you would love it. I want to watch it again right now. He was. I've never seen him like that. So.
Well, I definitely want to see this then. The 2001 Tim Blake Nelson directed.
The fuck is that all about, by the way?
Yeah, I know. It had Mekhi Phifer and Julia Stiles in it.
And President Bartlett is the basketball coach.
That's right. Mekhi Phifer is the star basketball player. And I guess it's the story of Othello, but it's very modern. Now this may be where they updated the dialogue and everything. It wasn't Shakespeare and everything. This may have been the one that I'm thinking of, because this one doesn't do Shakespearean stuff.
Well, they definitely did, because there's a lot of dialogue about basketball straight up here. And I know that wasn't in the Shakespeare version.
Yeah.
This is also one of my all-time favorite watching a Thursday night preview with Chris moments, when our friend Russell made that most inappropriate joke ever. Well, you remember this, Chris?
I don't remember the joke.
They're having sex. He goes to have sex with her. And
honestly,
I know what you're saying. The scene gets dark because the sex gets rough, and I'm not making light of that. But when they start having sex, our friend Russell said, "I'm giving you a back rub from the inside."
I had forgotten that he had said that in that movie.
This was a great night. This was one of my favorite nights because we watched Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
First, and then we went down and watched in 17 after that, and it was a riot fest that whole night. The movie I actually saw this again about 3 or 4 months ago. It's not very good.
No, it's not.
And I would definitely point you towards the Branagh version. Or Julia Stiles' much better modern Shakespeare movie, which we already talked about, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah, and Josh Hartnett just doesn't compare Josh Hartnett. I'm sure he's a very talented actor, but as the same character as Kenneth Branagh, and you can see how the scales are going to tip. He just can't keep up with the evilness of the character, even though he kills everybody.
Oh, yeah. There's some death.
Spoiler.
Also, there's that song, Oh, Ophelia.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Then we have The Odd Couple.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau. This is good. I haven't seen this in forever, but Matthau and Lemmon were a great team. They were a great comedy team. I think they ended up in maybe 7 movies or so together. Of course, culminating with Grumpy and Grumpier Old Men later on. But they were in The Odd Couple, and they were in a few others. Incidentally, they were both in JFK, but not together.
Were they in the My Fellow Americans, or was that James Garner?
That was James Garner and Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It might as well have been Matthau, yeah, I remember The Odd Couple being good. Now, this is, I believe, I'm hoping I'm getting the story right. They live in the same apartment, and Walter Matthau is he's the guy who wants to get girls for the night and everything, and Jack Lemmon is the I want to stay at home and not worry about dating and
Well, he's a neat freak too, right?
Yeah. And I think he's in love with somebody else or something. I can't even remember if he's in love with somebody else in this, but yeah, I remember this being good. I just don't remember everything about it.
Well, this thing's been done so many times. I mean, it was a Neil Simon play. Mm-hmm. Then they did the 1968 version, which is the one you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And then everything from 2.5 Men to a million different odd couples have been.
Well, yeah, and the TV series that had Tony Randall and Jack Klugman in it.
Yeah.
Well, and then the TV series that had Matthew Perry a couple.
And Tom Lennon.
Yeah, but I remember that being a really good movie. I haven't seen it in forever though. Romeo and Juliet. You cite the 1968 Zeffirelli. I've seen that. We saw that in high school.
Me too.
I saw that as a freshman in high school, and I was like, "Whoa, this movie's kind of racy for high school." There's some nudity in this.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Obviously, the Baz Luhrmann one came out in '96, a more modern version of it, and which Hot Fuzz sends up pretty great.
Yeah.
in one scene. I'm trying to remember if I've seen any other versions of this, though. I don't think I have.
We've
seen a lot of.
There's one a few years back with Haley Steinfeld that I saw.
Oh yeah.
And it was okay, but not very good.
Listen,
I'm just going to go on the record. I hate Romeo and Juliet.
The story?
In general, I hate most everything about it. Like fucking hormonal 13-year-olds killing themselves because they think they're in love. It's fucked up. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy many adaptations of it. And there you go.
Did you like the 96 Baz Luhrmann one?
Well, yeah, because Claire Danes was in it.
Oh, because you got your crush in there.
Yeah.
I love the story because I, unlike you, Jeremy, love romance. But I loathe the Romeo plus Juliet version with all of my being. I think
which one is that?
It's the with the plus and the Claire Danes and the Baz Luhrmann.
With the plus.
You hate that version.
I hate that version.
Even Leo? You don't think Leo's any good?
I mean, I guess it's just filmed in such a it's like my problems with Moulin Rouge on steroids.
So maybe you don't like Baz Luhrmann.
No, I hate that guy. I don't like his movies. Actually, the Gatsby one was all right, but
That's the worst one.
Yeah,
well, I know.
You should see Strictly Ballroom. I think you'd like Strictly Ballroom.
Yeah, I think you would like that one.
But I liked the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, except for a few things. I don't. And other than seeing that other version, the Zeffirelli version, in high school, I don't remember too much about that. But I generally like the story too, but Jeremy, I don't think you're alone on this whole thing. I heard somebody else say this about this play. Like, it's, even though that person liked Shakespeare, like the fact that it's 13-year-olds, like, I'm gonna die if I don't ever see you again.
Yeah. That's
like,
how love is, man.
Star
Wars
lovers. That's partially responsible for why modern teenagers get so like over emotional. I mean, I'm sure teenagers have always done it, but you read Romeo and Juliet in 6th fucking grade, and you're being told, well, you can't be with the one you love. Here's your suicide option. And so you go on, one lunch date with a girl you don't even hold hands with, and you're like, I love her. I love her.
Yeah, it's almost like if you did it exactly like that, it'd be dark and shocking if you had made it like kids at a middle school who were shared an apple together and they are like dating that day. Yes. And then like suddenly like their families are like, no, you don't mess around with city folk. And like, then it's, and then they kill each other over it. That would be like just, but the thing is about the play is that you sort of forget that they're that young.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about it, but I always like, they tell you right off the bat, these are how young these kids are, but you forget completely about that by the time it gets to the middle of it or whatever.
How old was Claire Danes, you think, when she filmed this? Because she was super young, right?
So she was born in 1979. So when it was filming, she was probably 16.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe even 15.
And Leo's a little bit older, right?
Yeah, Leo would have been 22 when the movie came out. Talk
about creepy Leguizamo, by the way.
yeah.
I feel like everybody's delivering their lines at a shout level in this movie, and nobody dials it back. Nobody.
Romeo, thou art a villain.
Fuck this movie.
Prelude to a Kiss.
Oh my God.
I've never
this
seen
movie
this.
Can eat my ass. Oh my God. This movie can eat my ass.
I agree.
Eat it hard. This movie is fucked up. There's a body switching and then a very, very, very uncomfortable kiss that I have nightmares about. And it has nothing to do with the genders of those involved. It has much more to do with the ages of those involved. God, I saw this movie once and I was angry.
It's a Baldwin. It's Alec Baldwin, and we could
kissing like a 90-year-old man.
Yeah, of course, because Meg Ryan
it's got Meg Ryan in her.
Yeah,
that's literally the plot.
Yes, it's fucked up.
There's a body switching. I like how that's how it starts off. This movie can eat my ass. There's a body switching.
I hate this movie.
I hate it.
I never saw it.
I watched it because it was Alec Baldwin and Meg Ryan, and 20% through the movie, like she's in The Old Man, right?
Yeah, God, it's fucking God. Just no. Don't even. How is that a play? How is that a play? And how did it get such success that somebody said, let's turn that into a movie? Everyone needs to see that visual.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
One of the movies that seems to cross over a lot into all the different things that we talk about. Pygmalion and My Fair Lady. Do we have anything new to report about these two things?
My Fair Lady.
Haven't seen. I'm not sure if I've seen My Fair Lady in forever.
I don't think I have anything new to say.
It seems like My Fair Lady is always on one of those vintage movie channels.
Yeah.
It's always on because it's so long. Like it just plays on a loop.
Literally.
And whenever it's on, I'll probably check out 30 minutes of it or so because Audrey Hepburn is delightful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ow! Ow! That's how she shrieks in the beginning.
Then there is Rent.
Rent.
I believe Christopher Columbus made this in 2005, based on the hit play, and it has nearly the entire original cast in it. I can't remember who couldn't make it into this cast, or if they added people, but Rosario Dawson is a new somebody to this, and I don't know who was originally in it, but This is the play that Team America's making fun of at the beginning. Where they're doing that lease thing, and everybody's got AIDS. Well, it is an AIDS story. It's a movie It's a story about dealing with that, and life and love, and it's kind of, isn't it based a little bit on La Boheme? Like, it's got a little bit of La Boheme in it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this, as big as Hamilton is right now, I think it's just maybe 15% bigger than how big Rent was.
People forget how big Rent was. Yeah, I mean, it was huge. In fact, we played the soundtrack on loop because my manager at the theater was a fan before a movie version was ever even discussed. So I knew all those songs. That I don't know what the lyrics now anymore. This was 30 years ago. Give me a break. But I loved the music. It was huge. It was near Hamilton huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's awesome. This is a great adaptation. Now, they didn't do what they did with Hamilton. They didn't film it on the stage. They had sets and everything. But Anthony Rapp, who you probably unfortunately heard about in the news fairly recently.
Well, because of Kevin Spacey, not because of anything.
Not because of anything he did. Yes,
yeah.
He was one of the victims in the Kevin Spacey.
He was I think he was the first person who came out about that.
And that's when Spacey responded by outing himself. You remember this?
Yeah, he said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm gay. I've been living a great gay life, and see ya." And like, well, no, that's not what it was about, asshole.
Right? Yeah, no kidding. Right. Idina Menzel, Frozen's Idina Menzel, is in this, and she is a firecracker. She's bisexual, and she's fucking Anthony Rapp at the beginning, and then she switches sides and fucks Tracy Thoms, and they end up having a wonderful tango. With each other, Anthony Rapp's character and Tracy Thoms' character. It's called The Tango Maureen.
Yeah, and you have Taye Diggs in this.
Tay.
He's in his it's his original. He was in his original character and everything. But yeah, I haven't seen this movie since it came out. 2005, of course, is one of those years that I push everything to the into the recesses of my mind. But I remember this being actually pretty good, though.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it.
And of course, I have stated that I saw this off Broadway with Drew Lachey. Drew Lachey played the main guy,
and you said he was good, right?
Yeah, it was fun, man. It was fun. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about Cereal Box.
Cereal Box,
yeah, baby.
Again, it's a SERIAL, not cereal as in like life and Fruity Pebbles and stuff like that.
Life. Is Life the one that Mikey liked?
Yeah, Mikey liked it.
Yeah.
He's the guy who died from the Pop Rocks and the Coke.
Yeah, well, nowadays Mikey is a girl, so
right.
She knows enough not to mix Pop Rocks and Coke, even though that's an urban legend that never happened.
Yeah, it never happened. I'm glad that this got into the Cereal Box ad, by the way. I totally blamed myself. Anyway, Cereal Box. Last week I was talking about an Arthur C. Clarke short story that I listened to / read while it was going on, and that's the great thing is that you can hear a narrator tell the story while you get to read it on screen if you prefer. And one that I started recently is the Jessica Jones Marvel. It's like a detective novel thing that's on there right now. And they have released, I don't know how many chapters. I've gotten through 4 of them so far. But they release a new chapter every week. And one thing that I love about the Marvel universe is that it's not just the big, huge, like we're going to save the world superheroes. You have those other ones like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and the Punisher and Luke Cage and all these guys. And the Jessica Jones one, it's cool because her powers are like sort of a secondary part of the story that you're reading. It's really a detective story when it comes down to it. It's about a father who comes in and asks her, like, to find his son, and who turned up missing when he went to the airport. And so, like, she goes in and has to, like, ask a bunch of questions and stuff like that. But I love getting into detective stuff, and it's fun. Just the powers in this book are just incidental. They're secondary. They're like, oh, people just have powers. We know that. That's fine. So, people aren't all Captain America and Thor and everything. There's some other guys out there that are doing, I guess, quote unquote, menial jobs and everything. And I'm really enjoying what I'm hearing so far out of the Jessica Jones one.
I this week went with a short story as opposed to a serialized piece of fiction, and I went with Arthur C. Clarke's The Possessed.
Oh, I listened to that. Yeah,
you have listened to this in the best way possible. I'm not entirely sure what happened in this. There are times that I felt like it was giving me hints of a creation story. There were times I felt like it was similar to the beginning of Prometheus, the movie. It is about a group, a swarm that has had their own planet destroyed, and they go out looking for a new planet. What they want to do is find a life form that they can then inhabit and groom to intelligence. And they find a planet that some of them think will work. And so they split up. Half of them decide to search this planet for some kind of life form. And the rest of the swarm goes on seeking a better planet. And those that stay behind every year come annually to this one spot, the point of rendezvous where they were dropped off on this planet, hoping that the rest of the swarm will return. To tell you anything else would be to rob you of what I thought was quite enjoyable what the fuckery that happens at the end of this. And again, it's a short story. I think it's like a 15-minute listen, even shorter if you read fast like I do. And I really enjoyed it.
You summed that up better than I could, by the way, because I was at times extremely lost.
I mean, it's part of it is the way he writes, man. Like, he writes in such his writing is like curtains you can kind of see through, but can't, if that makes sense. Like the prose is very dense.
That's awesome, man. This is an app. You can get it on all the mobile devices. Download it through Google or Apple, wherever you get apps, the app stores there. Or you can go to serialbox.com/SinCast, serialbox, SERIAL, box.com/SinCast, and that gets you 40% off select titles. And that's a lot. That's 40%. It'll tell you that we sent you. And you can you'll enjoy the service. I've actually dived into what Chris was talking about the last week. There's a bunch of Arthur C. Clarke shorts on there, and man, those take no time to grab you and then let you go to listen to. You can burn through a lot of them really quickly, and they're fascinating. The guy was so ahead of his time. The stories are unique. I'm going to immerse myself in that world more. So go to serialbox.com/SinCast, or if you download it on the mobile devices, use the redeeming code SinCast. SinCast.
That code is very redeeming.
Yes.
Very redeeming. 40% off select titles, and they'll know that we sent you, and yes, it's good. It's good. It's good things.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I did not realize that there was a play. I did not.
Yeah, I didn't either, actually. It's called The Rocky Horror Show, and it was done 2 years before the movie came out. I can't imagine anybody except for Tim Curry playing that character.
Yeah. Early Susan Sarandon. I don't know if she was super. Yeah, I didn't know if she was super known at that time. Meatloaf is in it. But I don't know the full story of how Rocky Horror Picture Show became the sort of the midnight movie phenomenon that it became. If it was like The Room, where it came out and nobody gave a shit about it, but then just a few dedicated people saw it and said, this is fantastic. and everything. It's got its own basically like make fun of it script that's it's like essentially written down. Like you were expected when you watch Rocky Horror Picture Show to make fun of it the same way as everybody else does. Whereas I feel like The Room was always sort of like an open-ended type of thing. There's things that you make fun of, but you can always make your own shit up and everything. But Rocky Horror Picture Show's got its beats in it that you say your own shit. You say the shit that is canon for making fun of it.
Have you ever been to one of those shows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that used to be a big thing at my high school back in the day. I did not go nearly as much as some of my friends did. I went maybe twice, but that was almost a regular weekly thing for some people I knew. We would go to Franklin Cinema and watch that on Saturday night and dress up and do the whole thing.
The Time Warp.
Yeah.
I only went because of a girl. And she got all dolled up. I wasn't even going to dress up, but she was like, "Yes, you have to, or I'm not doing what you want me to do." So I dressed up. Jesus. I probably could have said that better.
You think?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one of these, Jeremy?
No, I've never seen the movie. I've never been to a live showing, and
you've never seen the movie?
No, it doesn't hold much interest to me.
Huh.
I don't know why. I've also never seen The Room, so there's that.
Well,
I think that's more of an active choice right now.
Rocky Horror Picture Show, I don't think is super long, but it feels like it's 2.5 hours.
It sure does. It sure does.
I've never been that into it. Like that's one of those movies that I'm like, okay, I get it. I get why people are into it, and the songs are really fun. But man, every time I've gone and people are having fun, they're doing all this stuff, and it's never one of those things where time seems to be going by very fast when I watch. Like I'm like, oh, it's surely the end now. Nope, still has a whole other thing to go through first. Then we have Rope. Alfred Hitchcock made this, I believe, in 6 different 20-minute bursts or something like that. I can't remember, to make it look like it was all one continuous shot all the way through. These days when they do these uncut shots, now they have all these hidden cuts. Like Children of Men has a bunch of those, and Extraction has a ton of those in one big moment and everything. But back in the day, your main way of doing it was to get behind somebody in a black coat of some sort, and then cut back on somebody in the black coat when you were ready to do it again.
Nice.
But Rope is about what it's based on. Is it Leopold and Loeb?
Yes, loosely on the Leopold and Loeb murder case in 1924. Two upper class guys who have taken the teachings of Jimmy Stewart too far, essentially, who believe that there are superior people in this world, and that they can get away with murder because only superior people can. Decide to kill one of their friends, but they want to make a game of it. Actually, one of them wants to make a game of it. The other guy is kind of like, just kind of going along with it and allowing it to happen. They kill a friend right off at the beginning. At the beginning of the movie, you see them strangle this dude with rope. And their idea is, can they have a whole dinner party with this dead guy in a trunk or a coffin of some sort, have an entire dinner party without anybody knowing that that body is there. And of course, during the dinner party, everybody's like, where is that guy? He's supposed to be here. He's supposed to be here. And the two guys act in such a way that they start kind of giving it away if you're really noticing the strange behavior. And of course, Jimmy Stewart
is that person who is starting to get wise to it. It's phenomenal. I love this shit. This is fantastic Hitchcock.
And you say it holds up because this is 1948. It holds up pretty well.
Yeah. I think there's an in joke to Cary Grant in this somewhere.
Yeah.
Because Hitchcock sort of interchangeably used Jimmy Stewart and Cary Grant back in the day. And I think Cary Grant wanted this part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think there's some story about that, and they have some dialogue in there where they were like, did you see that picture? And they're trying to name the name of the movie. And they're like, I think it was just called, I don't know, something like The Something. I don't remember what it was called. And they were actually referring to a Cary Grant movie, but I can't remember that part. Anyway, Rope is fantastic. It's one of those movies that's got all that, like the premise is so devilish and evil, but it's entertaining at the same time. You're like how in the fuck are these guys going to get away with this shit?
It sounds like, kind of like a Frasier episode, only without the seriousness. Like,
yeah,
not a specific Frasier episode, but it sounds like the kind of. It also very much reminds me of Arsenic and Old Lace, with the idea of a body that not everybody in the building knows is there. I saw Rope once, and I consider it on my list of shame that I haven't seen it again since, because it was ages ago. But I know you love Rear Window as much as I do, so if you're going to rave about Rope this much, I need to get it on. Yeah,
when it comes to Hitchcock, Rear Window is probably not only my favorite of all time, but it's probably in my top 10 movies of all time. Rear Window's that good, but Rope is very high up on the list of. It's just that premise. I mean, they're having this dinner party, and you get. It's funny. You kind of forget that there's a body in this trunk this whole time, because they're just having conversations like nothing's ever happened. But there are little threads that go through there where somebody's like, "Where did he go?" It's not like him to not even call and say he's not coming in. He's usually on time, and you see some worry on some people. Other people are like, no big deal, and it's fun how it sort of progresses to get to the point where James Stewart is just like, something's kind of fucked up about this, and there's a point where he's like, there's something fucked up about this, guy.
Very fucked up. What do you think, Harvey?
This is fucked up. But yeah, go watch Rope if you've never seen it. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Dead. Forgot it was on the list when I brought it up earlier.
Yeah. The sort of the what would you call it? It's almost like a prequel or a sideways
sidequel.
Yeah, to Hamlet. And after you guys recommended it, how many years ago it's been on the SinCast, I watched it probably a week after that or so. And I enjoyed it very much. What do you have to say about Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead?
I love it so much I named my cats Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. It's the humor is not set up punchline humor. It's a lot of thinking humor in many cases. The characters Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in the original Hamlet are really just pawns for the plot to move around. They are the best friends of Hamlet who are supposed to comfort him. And then later on, Hamlet knows he's going to get killed and double crosses his own friends, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern end up dying. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead takes that premise and sort of plays with it. So they don't even know which one of them's which. They can't remember anything before waking up this morning, as though they really literally only exist to serve this story. And like sometimes people will come up to them and say, gentle Rosencrantz, kind Guildenstern. And then the next time their names will be reversed. And there's even a part where one of them says to the other one, "Hey, Rosencrantz," and he turns and he's like, "Yes," and he's like, "It worked. Let me try you. And he's like, "Hey, it's Gary Oldman." He's like, Say, Guildenstern. And Tim Roth is like, no, not now. Catch me unawares. He waits like 3 more. It's very Homer Simpson. He waits like 3 more seconds. He's like, say, Guildenstern. And like Tim Roth is like, unawares. Catch me unawares. But they keep trying all these science experiments. Like there's these potted plants hanging, and he pulls one out, and it knocks the other one on the end like that office swinging ball desk toy.
Yeah.
And then he calls over Tim Roth. Hey, look at this. It pulls it back too far. And so the potted plant just breaks. And they drop a feather and a ball from the same height. And of course, the ball hits way before the feather does. They play word tennis. That's where they have to only ask questions. It's delightful, especially, I think, again, I already mentioned, I don't even like Hamlet all that much. I have a passing enough knowledge of it to understand the parts of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead where we have entered Hamlet for a moment or two. But the way they have these characters like just outside of a scene so we can kind of hear what's going on, and then they like fall down a grain chute into this, and now they're part of the scene. This movie is delightful. It's Tom Stoppard, who would go on to do... No, it's Tom Stoppard.
Yep.
Who would go on to do Shakespeare in Love, which is a lot more polished. But watch this for Gary Oldman and Tim Roth. They're both really young in this, and they have great chemistry, and they're both just really funny.
They do. And somebody that gets... in my mind, short shrift, because I didn't remember how good he was until I saw it maybe about 6 months ago. Richard Dreyfuss as the lead player in this movie is spectacular. You've never seen Richard Dreyfuss like this. He's devilish. He knows, you can tell that he knows more than he's letting on and that kind of thing. He's fantastic. But yeah, all 3 of the leads are awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
And Ian Glenn plays Hamlet for you Game of Thrones fans. Donald Sumter, also from Game of Thrones, but also a million other things, is in it as well. Then we have The 7-Year Itch, which is something I've never seen.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's the one that's famous for Marilyn Monroe getting over that grating of some sort, and the dress flying up, and her having to like push it down before anybody sees her knickers.
We don't call them knickers enough, I don't think.
I don't think so either. But I've never seen it.
No, me neither. She doesn't have a whole lot of range. Marilyn Monroe does in this movie. She's not given a lot of range to work with. She's basically the sex symbol by which the plot moves forward. The 7-year itch, of course, being if you're in a relationship or a marriage for 7 years, you start getting the dick itch and want to put it in somebody else.
You want to spray your milt onto another potential mate.
That's true.
And so she is his upstairs neighbor as his wife is gone away.
Actually, I have seen this movie.
You have?
I have seen this movie, yeah. Now, more that the plot has come through.
Was it the dick itch?
It was the dick itch that got me.
The dick itch.
In both ways. But no, I do remember this now that you've gone through the plot and everything. I saw that 3 or 4 years ago. I remember it being okay. It's not. I didn't think it was like great or anything.
Like I said, man, her character is annoying in this movie. I'm trying to kind of dance around that. She's manic. She doesn't know really what she's doing. And she is, I want to say this carefully, the movie is treating her where she's almost like causing him to have these thoughts, even though we all know that's not really the case, except for her being Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
But it's obviously no fault of her own. This guy's just a puppy swept up in this tornado that is Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. I would be powerless against it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have About Last Night, which is based on David Mamet's Sexual Perversity in Chicago. It's also the name of Barrett's time in Chicago, from what I understand.
Yeah.
You say David Mamet's Sexual Perversity in Chicago, like if people don't realize he's a playwright, that's a news headline of a crime.
Yeah, it is. It is. Directed by Edward Zwick. I never have seen this, though.
Oh, really?
If I remember this... Yeah, I remember this being one of those movies back in the day that, like, is like lots and lots and lots of sex and nudity. If you want that, Demi Moore
I do
and
want that.
Rob Lowe. Yeah, we all want that. But I've never seen it.
Oh, it's awesome.
I saw the Sunday afternoon edited for children version that would play on cable, so that I never knew there was any nudity in that movie.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of demean nudity.
It would play. I mean, a lot of those Brat Pack movies would play on like Sunday afternoon on like USA or whatever. So that's the only one I saw. Isn't there? You already mentioned this. There's a Kevin Hart version too, right?
Yeah, that was
in which also has
that's right.
lots of nudity.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that.
I think that version was like PG-13 or something.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know.
This movie's really good. In fact, it's one of it. I know it's not classic Brat Pack cast all the way up and down, but there's a lot of them. Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Elizabeth Perkins. Megan Mullally is actually really good in this. This is one of my favorite movies from that period. I guess I gravitate towards the ones where they're older, like the ones in St. Elmo's Fire or this one. I'm a fan.
The Kevin Hart version is R-rated, but I think it's toned down the sex and nudity, and it's mostly profanity and things like that. They got it. It's R rating. Then there's She's the Man. Back in the day, where Amanda Bynes was in things. I remember seeing this. She's a soccer player, and I'm trying to remember. Is she trying to get on the guys' team? Yes. Is that what it is?
Well, yeah, because they shut down the girls' team. Okay. And so she assumes the identity of her brother or something like that and has to tape her boobs down and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, what was it? Just one of the guys was the other one of this?
Just one of the guys, yeah.
And you've seen the story before, but it is apparently an adaptation of The 12th Night, which I guess is why there are so many of these things.
I don't remember it being very good, but
nope.
Then we have, this is a movie, God, I should have seen this, and I haven't. This is 6 Degrees of Separation. This is the movie this is either Will Smith's big first, he's not a big character in this, but it was one of his first big movie roles that he had. But I believe it's Stockard Channing and Donald Sutherland.
Oh yeah,
that were in this movie, and I never saw this. I think I have the poster to this though.
It's pretty great. Will Smith is charming as fuck, and he basically cons his way into these people's lives by convincing them he is the son of Sidney Poitier, and he sells the lie very well. But the movie itself, even though it's very entertaining, you could boil this movie down by saying it's literally Donald Sutherland and Stockard Channing telling the story over 4 or 5 rich people parties. It's basically, and it's all told in flashbacks where they're always telling like dumbfounded rich friends about this tale that they're bemused by. They're like almost never offended by it. And just for Will Smith's performance alone, I think it's worth a watch.
I want to see this at some point. I keep forgetting about this movie. I remember it was a big deal when it came out. Then we have Sleuth. There are 2 versions of it. One is with Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine, and the other one is with Jude Law and Michael Caine. Of course, Jude Law was doing a lot of the old Michael Caine roles at the time. And the one that came out in 2007 was Kenneth Branagh, directed it, and then the 1972 version is Joseph L. Mankiewicz. But the 2007 one, I guess, is the one I'm most familiar with. But it's sort of one of these. It's like 2 writers who were like rivals of each other or something like that. I can't. And one invites the other to his house. And they're trying to sort of match wits against each other, and one of them is trying to kill the other. I think is what it comes down to.
I think there's a woman involved too, or there was.
Yeah, maybe so.
I remember there's a lot of disguises.
Stolen his wife. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, there's a lot of disguises, and it's basically them taking turns fucking the other one over. And I found it to be a delightful mindfuck, but I only saw it once.
Did you see Did you see the Jude Law one or the?
Yeah, the Jude Law one. I haven't seen the original.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that one. I saw the 72 one, which was great.
Well, the 72 version is better than the 2007 version for sure. But no. but hey, if you've seen the 2007, it's like a Horrible Bosses situation, right?
There you go.
That's true.
If you've seen the 2007 version, that's gonna be your Sleuth from now on. But I remember both of them are good. Both of them are fun.
Nice.
Streetcar Named Desire. We finally got to it.
Yay!
Tennessee Williams. This is the movie that is sort of cited as the beginning of naturalistic acting because of Marlon Brando's performance in this movie. There's this idea that before Streetcar Named Desire, everybody was doing this sort of affected play to the back row kind of acting, even though you might see people before Brando who you would consider natural. It wasn't until you saw this raw kind of intensity in a character before. And I think nearly every actor in the world after this point started citing this as the movie that made them want to be an actor themselves. Marlon Brando's performance in this is like the Velvet Underground is to bands that came out after the Velvet Underground, right? Like everybody cites this as their inspiration. But what do we think about A Streetcar Named Desire?
I love it.
Will this bewitching floozy seduce this humble newsy? Oh, what's a paper boy to do? That's what I think about Streetcar.
Yep, the Simpsons pissed off New Orleans with that.
There you go. Brando gets all the credit for his performance in this, rightfully so. But Vivien Leigh is a dynamite as Blanche Dubois. Yep. And it's been a while since I've seen this, but man, I mean, she really brings it. And you could feel the chemistry between Brando and Kim Hunter, and also with Vivien Leigh too. Just everybody seemed to be on the same page and clicking. And the cinematography is great. It's sexy as hell. It's good stuff.
Elia Kazan directed it, and
that and On the Waterfront, right?
Yep. But his name will always be, sullied with the he named names and shit like that. He ruined people's lives. Then we have 12 Angry Men. Sidney Lumet. This 12 Angry Men is one of the best movies you'll ever see. Even though it's not really like a movie, like it's not like, something that requires the screen, but because it's basically all in one jury room for the most part. They don't
leave, I don't think.
Yeah. But it's about a murder case that seems pretty cut and dry to everybody except one man. One man is not convinced. And they need to have a unanimous result. And this one man is like, but wait a minute, what about this? And then he starts slowly getting more and more people to his side as he goes.
There's a lot of racial overtones in this jury too, like because the accused is Hispanic, I think Hispanic, and some of the jurors are very clear. Puerto Rican, are very clearly voting guilty because of his race. And so it's not just evidence that this guy has to bring into it, but he has to overcome these bitter feelings. And it's basically, can he or can he not convince the entire jury to change their minds? And it's riveting. The Jack Lemmon modern version with Ving Rhames. Is excellent.
I heard that was good too. Yeah,
it's excellent. They're both good. You can't go wrong with either one. But I think it says a lot about the source material.
I forgot about that. It's funny. When I was in high school, we didn't have enough male actors that were any good to play this to put this on. So we renamed it 12 Angry People. And we had half female and half male. So yeah.
It's one of the funniest sight gags in Barry, where what's Henry Winkler's name in that?
Oh, Gene
Kuzanov.
Uh-huh.
There's a part where Barry's at his house, and there is a poster in the background that says Gene Kuzanov is 12 Angry Men.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, I love that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Venus in Fur, Roman Polanski. I've never seen this.
Yeah, this is an interesting movie. This is directed by Roland Polanski as of 2013. I saw this on Mubi, actually. And it's very, very play-like. It's sexually based between really only two people in this production. They are putting on a stage production, and she is trying to get something out of him, I think is the way it is, or vice versa. And it's really, really good. I hate that I like Polanski's work. I really do.
I know.
But,
I want to correct.
This is very good.
Real quick, I want to correct. It's not Ving Rhames, and it was either Courtney B. Vance, Ossie Davis, or Michael T. Williamson.
Ossie Davis is who you're probably thinking.
Somebody, I think so. Somebody won an award for that 12 Angry Men. It was William Friedkin directed it, by the way.
Oh wow!
Somebody won an award for that, and in their acceptance speech said it should have gone to Jack Lemmon. And I don't have the details in front of me on this whole story, but I'll have to look that up and send you the link later. But William Friedkin, I'd forgotten that. Anyway, I wanted to clear up that
for
mistake.
TV.
Yeah, it was a TV movie. It was. That's why I think they won an Emmy, whatever they won. Might have been an HBO film. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. It was on cable.
Showtime Networks.
Showtime. Okay. And then we have West Side Story.
I want to live in the
I know that Jeremy has watched this movie many times.
I have. I love it. I don't love how long it is, and I don't think it needs to be remade, even if it's fucking Spielberg doing it. Maybe it shouldn't be done even with Spielberg doing it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because of Spielberg doing it, it shouldn't be done at this point.
I agree, and it just doesn't seem like there's a need for it. I don't know what he's going to do to bring new light to this. I even saw a quote because I tweeted about this, and somebody found a quote he did in an interview about how he wanted to highlight the struggle of Puerto Rican immigrants living in New York City. And my reply to that tweet was, like the original one does? Like, they're Puerto Rican in that. And if you're going to remake this, you put Lin-Manuel Miranda in charge of it, or you don't do it at all. Anyway, the original is fantastic. The songs are iconic. The cinematography is fantastic. It's just too long, really, is the only beef I have, which like a lot of those musicals made back in that day. But yeah, and of course, it's based on Romeo and Juliet, which fucking sucks.
Yeah. I was supposed to be Officer Schrank in the high school production of West Side Story, but that did not happen because we had to shut it down because our drama teacher got sick and everything. But
quote unquote got sick. I think the drama teacher was taking Barrett back behind stage.
Well, yeah,
wow,
probably.
That got dark in a hurry. I'm sorry.
It got very, very dark.
Everybody's taking me backstage. Do I not?
They are.
Seriously.
Yeah, so many blowjobs going on back there.
The offer. I guess I should have clarified. I didn't accept the offer.
Yeah, no, we know Barrett. Wink,
wink, wink.
Others that Barrett hasn't seen that's on this arbitrary list.
Jeez, it's a lot. It's a lot of anger.
It's just funny that we separate these lists into Barrett has seen it. Barrett has not seen it.
Hey, man. Hey, I find him.
Barefoot in the Park, Jane Fonda, Robert Redford, based on Neil Simon. I can't remember if I saw this or not. I know I've seen some. I think I've seen it, but I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember it being all that good.
Don't go barefoot in the park. I think that's the lesson. You put shoes on.
That's what you step on a lot of shit out there, man. Then A Doll's House has been made into a movie 6 times, eh?
Wow.
Yeah.
Seems worth it.
Well, that's why. And if I had maybe done some more research on it, maybe it would turn into like a Moulin Rouge type of thing. But yeah, it's got a lot.
I haven't even made that many movies about Jesus.
I know, right? there's a Mr. Show sketch where they show these four guys walking around. They're like the Beatles, but they're not a band. They're just the most photographed people in the world, basically. They're going around and everybody treats them like they're the Beatles. Everything is exactly the Beatles, except they don't play any music. and then there's this news conference, and David Cross, whoever he's playing, is like, it's like, yeah, we've been photographed more than Jesus. And then the narrator comes in and says they were disappointed at the lack of controversy that this quote, that this quote made. So, and then they became not popular after that. Then we have Equus. Sidney Lumet did one in 1977. I think the most famous version is the one where Daniel Radcliffe was on stage. It wasn't a movie, but everybody was up in arms about Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter, getting on stage and having his wiener hanging out and everything.
There is nudity in this, right?
What's that?
I think there is nudity in that, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Daniel Radcliffe did this fully nude on stage.
Yep. Nice, good for him.
Yep. He showed us Harry Potter.
He did. But the subject matter is always something super disturbing. I can't remember what it is. Something about he's blinded by a horse or something.
A psychiatrist. He's treating a teenager who has blinded horses in a stable, attempting to find the root of his horse worship.
Oh.
So he has like a thing with horses, and the psychiatrist is trying to cure him of that.
Okay. Finian's Rainbow. Is this Coppola's first movie he directed? He did he did a movie called You're a Big Boy Now. He did Dementia 13. Oh, so he'd done quite a few others before this. But Finian's Rainbow has Fred Astaire and Petula Clark in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never seen it.
Downtown.
Yeah, downtown. Switching
there
channel.
Are movie shows. Sorry.
Yeah, there are movie shows. Switching channels based on the front page. I've never seen Switching Channels. The front page.
It's that farce that they do in Barry, actually.
That's right. I was like, I know I've heard that somewhere before. The Great White Hope. That's James Earl Jones is in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black champion boxer and his white female companion struggle to survive while the white boxing establishment looks for ways to knock him down. Okay. Yeah, because then they made the Great White Hype back in the 90s, where they were trying to set up a big like racial fight of some sort. And they hype up Peter Berg in that movie as like the only person to ever knock Damon Wayans down and everything. But the Great White Hope, if I recall, is supposed to be really good, but I've never seen it. The Iceman Cometh. That's a play we've heard about a million times. I've never seen the movie. Was Kevin Spacey in this?
Not in the movie.
Just for the record, I glanced over this list of ones Barrett's never seen, and I haven't seen fucking one of them. So.
I think I've seen one. The Iceman Cometh, 1973, John Frankenheimer, with Lee Marvin. Jeff Bridges is in it too. Frederick March. There's another Iceman Cometh with Jason Robards in it. Then there was the Dice Man Cometh with Andrew Dice Clay. But yeah, this has been done a few times. The Importance of Being Earnest. That's another Oscar Wilde adaptation. I'm trying to remember if I've seen one of those.
It's important to be earnest.
It is.
It's important.
2002 also Rupert Everett in 2002 with Colin Firth and Reese Witherspoon. There's a 1952 version, and but the 2002 is the one that I remember, but I never saw it. Inherit the Wind, Two lawyers argue the case for and against a science teacher accused of the crime of teaching evolution. So that's the monkey
Scopes
trial.
monkey trial. Yeah.
One of Tennessee's greatest moments.
Right.
Lost in Yonkers. Don't remember. I don't think I saw this movie, but was this Mercedes Rule that was in this?
And your boy again, Richard
Dreyfuss?
Mr. Holland Opus. God.
Yes, it's Mercedes Rule and Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah. I remember this movie coming out. I never saw it though.
I remember this movie coming out and saying, Yonkers. How many more fucking neighborhoods in New York are you going to make up on the spot for your movie that never existed before? Just kidding. I'd never heard of Yonkers before.
I'm trying
this
to
movie.
remember if I ever went to Yonkers in my days of New York. I don't think I may have driven past it. Was in some places in upstate, but I don't think ever Yonkers.
You would know, man. Everybody in Yonkers is walking around constantly going, yonk, yonk, yonk.
That's
yonk,
true.
Yonk.
That's
And
true.
they're all lost.
Yeah, I would have remembered that. You're right. Love, valor, compassion.
Ooh,
Jason Alexander's
excitement?
in that one. Came out in 1997.
It's a bunch of gay dudes get together and go on vacation together.
Oh, okay. The Madness of King George. That's we ran across this one recently for some reason.
English thing.
That's right. But I still haven't seen it since then. No, I did not go race to watch The Madness of King George. That championship season. Don't know anything about that.
Sounds like a sports movie.
It does.
Yeah, it's like basketball and Ed Harris and things.
On the stage? What happens if you miss the big shot you're supposed to make at the end of the big game if it's a stage show? That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That is a lot of pressure.
My joke is I don't think they were actually shooting baskets
Probably
on stage,
not.
were they?
I'm
Well,
guessing
no,
not.
it's a basketball team. I don't know if they actually play, but it's
So
about
They probably did
a 2-hour
the
show of locker room talk. What the hell is this show?
They probably did
I
the
haven't seen it, man.
they probably did the Our Town thing where they like pretended like they were dribbling a basketball.
They pantomime the basketball like Middleditch and Schwartz.
Yeah, and they would shoot it, and then they would like pull a string and then show the net move, and then
Very good. Yes.
the unsinkable Molly Brown. It's about Kathy Bates on Titanic.
It is about Kathy Bates. It's about Kathy Bates and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I've actually seen this play a long time ago, and it was she's plucky. She's plucky, and she was on the Titanic and survived. She survived many things and some personal tragedy too. So it's a good play. I haven't seen the movie adaptation.
Mm-hmm. And then the one on here that I know for a fact that I have seen, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Mike Nichols directed. This was Elizabeth Taylor in a just dynamo, like rough, drunken performance. I think it's about a couple who invites another couple over, and there's all this domestic discord that gets hashed out in front of everybody and everything. Has nothing to do with Virginia Woolf at all. But it's one of those movies or / plays that have just absolutely brutal dialogue in it. Like when you hear the truth of everything that's going on. A bitter aging couple, with the help of alcohol, use their young house guests to fuel anguish and emotional pain towards each other over the course of a distressing night. But Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, George Segal, and Sandy Dennis. And that's it. That's it.
There were never any other plays made into movies ever.
And there were no other ones at all. But yeah, that was a fun trip through the stage adaptations.
Yeah.
I mean, we hit on a good amount of them, and I'm sure if we missed a few, you'll tell us which ones we should scope out. This had a very specific thing, right? It had to be a play first, and then it became a movie. I'm sure we missed a few there, but there are a lot of stuff in here that they were maybe books first. and then they became plays. Like Les Miserables is one of those. Like, you would think, why didn't we talk about Les Miserables? Well, it was a book, and then it was a play, and then it was a movie, and then a play I was in high school called MASH. That is famous as a TV show and movie. I believe it was either a book or something. It may have been. I'm trying to remember if it was a book first, but that's another one that started off before it was a movie. It was some other things, but anyway. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter. We're on Discord. And if you want to get on Discord, you can go to the Reddit page and find the link on the right side of the page there. Or you can go to Facebook and private message me, and I can give you a link there. We're also on SoundCloud. But that's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott, Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Did I ever tell you about my greatest Scrabble victory as a child? My brother and I. No, but my brother and I were playing Scrabble. We played a lot of Scrabble. It was highly encouraged in our house, and we still play it when we get together. But I had 4 letters left: M, I, L, and T. I stared at them for several minutes. There was no word I could make with them. But I found a place to play them, and I laid down my M, I, L, T, and my brother challenged, thinking it was not a word. And so we went to the dictionary, and not only was that a word, but it means fish sperm.
Hold on. MILT itself is a word.
Oh, yeah. I not only won,
Fish sperm.
I got 50 points extra because he challenged and lost. Crushed him. And, of course, I did not know that was a word when I played it, but that was my greatest victory. That says a lot about my Scrabble game.
There are people who on this earth who commonly use that word. Like, I was watching the fish spawning, and there was a lot of milt.
Yeah, a lot of milt. The milt was coating the ocean.
Right. The milt was everywhere. It was good that I wasn't scuba diving in that milt.
Oh my God! Yes, and I just to verify, so we didn't get double checked. I just Googled it, and it says milt is the seminal fluid of fish, mollusks, and certain other water-dwelling animals, which reproduce by spraying this fluid, which contains the sperm, onto roe. It can also refer to the sperm sacs or the testes that contain the semen.
Fish testes.
There you go.
There you go.
We are always educating you
There's
about
milt everywhere. Don't swallow
animal sex.
That's right. It's probably a delicacy somewhere.
I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it is. If
Like,
roe is.
like you go to one of those high posh restaurants, and you get like the steak frites or whatever with asparagus, and there's like so you there's like
okay, wait. We should stop. We should
There's a
stop
ramekin of
joking.
milt.
We should stop joking. Many cultures eat milt, according to Wikipedia, often fried, though usually not as a dish by itself. It's used in Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Romanian, Russian, and Sicilian cuisine.
Of course it is.
So there you
Make
go.
mine a little milty.
Yeah.
I need
extra milk.
I need a latte, double the milk.
Could you melt the milk, please?
You figure there was ever a frog that was swimming through the water and said, "Excuse me, sir, you've gotten some milt in my cloaca."
Yeah, yes. That's a real big problem with frogs. That's what I hear.
If you drink it straight, you get a milt mustache.
Mm-hmm, that's right. That's right.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I want to see milt become the next mainstream euphemism for jism.
Yes. Me too.
Baby, I'm going to melt on you.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I want this, and I will know it has happened when it shows up in porn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
going to melt all over your face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the woman could say, "Give me that milk, baby,"
Mhm.
or whatever women say.
Yeah.
Fill me up, Mr. M.
Yeah.
Fill me with your milk.
Yeah, exactly. Last time I looked, they're 100% milk free.
Yeah, I think so. Holy.
Oh, Daddy, you have so much milk.
That is an odd thing about Scrabble, though, that your brother challenges it, and he's wrong, so you have a 50-point swing that way. I almost feel like you should be able to define it yourself if that's the case.
I mean, if we played today, I think in general that's the rule. But I was like 12 and he was like 14, and so it was more of a dare. Like, I dare you to challenge this. I'm going to play it. I'm hoping it's a word. But yeah, when we play now as adults, I wouldn't be able to get away with playing a word I didn't know how to define. They'd have my hide.
Right. I'll have your hide.
Is it about my cube?
Is it about my cube? First, it was like I had to answer the security questions, and I had to go to Jonathan and say blah blah blah. Where did your mom and dad first successfully mate? And then so like. That movie is fucking great, man.
I'm going to have to do the 7-day trial.
Yeah.
Just to watch it.
Yeah, I really like when you first start watching it. You're like, man, this dialogue and this Elizabeth Shue shit at the beginning is kind of clunky, but like, but then when it gets into and it's an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half when it gets into the shit. Oh my god, it's so good.
Right. Well, I think, by the way, for the record, topic for another day. I think this is the only way Apple TV finds success is buying other properties, because I don't think the stuff they've produced in-house has shown much promise.
No, right.
But
I've even heard good
Netflix,
things about it, but it's not moving the needle.
Well, and Netflix does the same thing. They produce their own in-house, and then they acquire others for various reasons. But they're also way firmly established before Apple TV came along. And then Quibi, I think Quibi's already dead. Like, I think there's already a funeral happening for Quibi.
There was a tweet I saw the other day about Quibi that was like all of the best content about the best content on Quibi is people writing think pieces about Quibi. So you hear about it a lot. I don't even know what's on it. I think that's the problem.
Just watched Middleditch and Schwartz again.
Yeah.
My favorite part in there was is in the third one where they do the complete opposite methods of wiping your ass.
Oh, God.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
I don't know where that comes from, where he's like keeps folding it over.
Well, when the other guy, when Schwartz does it, he's making fun of Middleditch folding it over a million times. So he grabs a whole roll in a wad and squats up and lifts, and then Middleditch
throwing it up,
legitimately angry in character, and he's like, "Oh, who the fuck cares? Paper spray. Let's just use it." Oh, Jesus.
There's one that you did, Jeremy, that made me laugh for probably about 45 seconds straight.
Was it the hot air balloon?
Yes.
Barrett is doing his impression of the guy doing Roxanne in Moulin Rouge, and I am making fun of him because he just recently had laryngitis, and that is a terrible thing to do to your throat if you want to keep your voice.
I was looking at the scene, and I was like, is that really how I remember it? That guy singing it like that?
Yeah, man. It's like guttural. Guttural.
Roxanne, the passion. It's actually my favorite part of the movie.
That's when the movie starts to lose me.
Oh, really?
The first hour, I'm like, this is magic. It's awesome. And then right around that scene is where I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to be tuning out.
I like the little layers of that song because, the tour, in the middle of Roxanne, you hear Christian Ewan McGregor, like, where does my heart? You know, and he goes through all that, and Roxanne like going in at the same time. I love it.
Holly Hobbit has a heroin habit.
It sounded like Stephen Baldwin when they said the name, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't Stephen Baldwin.
I think he would have told us if it was Stephen Baldwin.
Yeah.
By the way, I haven't told you this in 2 years, but Stephen Baldwin.
Let me log in and see what it was.
I forgot that there was a part in the Ables where somebody was like, "Give me the fucking keys, you fucking cocksucker motherfucker!"
What the fuck?
Unless you're just somebody who's just the, after the editing notes comes in and you're just going over every single aspect of it. And I'm sure there are authors like that out there that just know their shit. But like, I mean, how many times do you see that with people who are in TV shows or whatever, and people ask them questions about their characters, and they're like, how am I supposed to know? Like the people ask people who do the Simpsons voices what Wiggum did in this one episode. Like, how many fucking sessions of voiceover work that guy did? He doesn't remember that shit.
All right, good.